I guess I'm going to move on to the London Adult Therapeutic Court. Crown Attorney Yi, Charles Yi, Assistant Crown Attorney from London Adult Therapeutic Court, Ministry Attorney General, is here with us. His biography, his bio. Crown Yi has been Assistant Crown Attorney with the London Crown Attorney's Office for the past 18 years. He is the lead prosecutor in the Adult Therapeutic Court and has held the role for over 6 years. He is also the West Region's Ontario Review Board, a Crown. Also working with him today is the Interim Medical Director, Dr. Ajay Prakash, Forensic Psychiatrist, London Adult Therapeutic Court. Thank you both for being here today.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm not sure if Dr. Prakash has signed on to the conference yet. I could send him a quick text. He's a pretty busy guy. Let me grab my phone here.
Now, take your time, Mr. Yi. It's okay.
Let's see, I'll just give me a moment. Oops. I just sent him a quick text, but I'm happy to start a little bit if you want me to.
Of course we want you to, sir.
Okay. Well, why don't I just start a little bit and hopefully Dr. Prakash will sign on. He's a pretty busy guy usually. I think he's the sort of the lead doctor there now at the Southwest Center for Forensic Mental Health Care in St. Thomas. So why don't I just start? So the Adult Therapeutic Court, we call it the ATC, is we started that in and around, I believe, around 2013, 2014 timeframe. And I took over as the prosecutor in there in about 2014, 2015. And I carried that position until about 2019. And then someone else took it over, and I recently came back and started again into that court 2023. And so with you've probably heard that with most of these therapeutic type courts, the emphasis is on the rehabilitation of the offender. We take into consideration, we factor greatly the needs of and the input of the victims in a lot of these cases. We try and get their input as early as possible, and we try and involve them in the process as well. We explain to them, what stream that the accused person is going through, and we try and get their input. The things that we offer in the Adult Therapeutic Court here in London is mental health diversion. We offer traditional forms of diversion. We call it DAP in Ontario. And we also, sometimes we will also have the Indigenous diversion. There's a local friendship center called the Namarine Friendship Center, and they deal with the Indigenous diversion. So oftentimes we will agree to the Namarine diversion because sometimes it is a little bit more applicable, but they also have the mental health background. With respect to, we also do the traditional guilty pleas and sentences that as well too. With respect to the criteria, we require a diagnosed mental health illness. I've heard a little bit of the previous speakers. We also will consider we'll accept the concurrent disorders as well. So that's where the mental health illness plus the substance abuse disorder. In the past, I recall dealing with accused persons who've had eating disorders as well. We've had a few of those, and the reason why we accepted him into the adult therapeutic court is we wanted to not exclude persons who have special needs that would not have been addressed properly going through the regular traditional stream of prosecutions. The types of offenses that we would have in this particular court, there is a list of sort of excluded offenses, and mainly they're the driving offenses, offenses involving significant violence. We do not close the door to domestic matters. We have included those particular files into our court. In terms of the running of the court itself, we try and keep a very team approached emphasis. So our team includes the judiciary, the Crown, Defense Counsel, Duty Counsel, CMHA, which is the Canadian Mental Health Association. We have representatives from community support organizations. So these are organizations that will, they're outreach type programs and organizations that deal with a lot of the homeless population in our community. We're very, very lucky in that we have a representative, a doctor, psychiatrist from the Southwest Center for the Forensic Mental Health Care attend every week. And I think we're a little bit unique in that way. We're very, very lucky to have a doctor present every week. We also try and keep a consistent court staff. We try and keep a consistent day of the week we have where we run the court. So it's always Wednesdays, and we always try and have it in the same courtroom. Currently, it is sort of a hybrid court in that we have in-person and we have Zoom appearances as well. I think the Zoom appearances have actually assisted in helping people appear in court when they're, oftentimes we get a lot of clients that are very emotionally unstable. They're not capable of coming into the court physically. They have issues that way, and I think the Zoom appearances is assisted. They often appear with their social worker or their community outreach worker, and we're very grateful for that assistance because it keeps appearances in check. We try and not request bench warrants unless we absolutely have to. Pre-COVID, we used to have a representative from probation in the court, and we used to have a representative from the local detention center, the Elgin Middlesex Detention Center. We're trying to get those organizations back on board, and so hopefully we can get those team members back in. We try and meet approximately 3 to 4 times per year as a team, and we can discuss issues that have come up, and it just keeps the communication chain going. And I think that's a real key to keeping a successful adult therapeutic court is communication. Sometimes, if defense counsel are having issues, the Crown may not get wind of it. So those types of issues, those meetings help in trying to hash out any kind of issues we have. The CMHA, it consists of 4 members, and they conduct the initial ATC intake for entrance into the court. court. So they have access to local hospital records. And so when someone is trying to enter into the adult therapeutic court, they go through and meet with a CMHA representative, and they get them to sign a consent. Once the consent is signed, then CMHA is able to access their records, and they tell the Crown that so-and-so is diagnosed with this illness and is acceptable into the court. And so the CMHA, they also, in addition to doing the initial intakes, they are the ones that create the mental health diversion programs for each individual person. Each individual diversion program is specifically tailored to that individual to meet their specific needs. And our diversion programs usually last 6 months. So we would have an update for the first 3 months. And so we bring them back to court and we get a sort of an interim report to see how they're doing. And then we adjourn it for another 3 months to complete the matter. Oftentimes, if there's a victim involved in the offense, we may seek a Section 810 peace bond to follow the diversion. So it kind of accomplishes almost like a probation order, in that there's a program of counseling and there's also victim safeguards. So it kind of mimics that. So we don't ask for the 810 in all cases, but sometimes we will, especially cases involving violence or threats of violence, that sort of thing. We do not, we try and be as lenient and flexible as possible, in that if someone has had diversion in the past, it doesn't exclude them from a future diversion program. We've expanded that because we're focusing on the rehabilitation of the offender, and we know that mental health illness and concurrent disorders are lifelong afflictions, and they're not, oftentimes they're not easily resolvable in one diversion. You know, sometimes they do slip up. We also allow, we're trying to be flexible in that sometimes at the 3-month mark for the update for the diversion, sometimes we get a report saying, you know, this accused has not reported as diligently or has had some slip ups. And so we try and give them some leeway, and, you know, we'll give them another chance and see, look, here's what's happened. Can you know, try and re-engage, and we can continue this program. We try and encourage them to participate in the diversion. And so we're trying to be as flexible as possible. Let me see. The diversion requires some insight into the, for the accused to have some insight into the index offense, into their illness, into the need for medication counseling. So there are some requirements. It's not an easy program, but we also want them to, you know, have some acknowledgement of the issues that they're facing, including the offense. I should speak about one of the unique features, and that is the accessibility to forensic psychiatrists at the Southwest Center. So we have a psychiatrist that comes in every Wednesday when the court runs, and the function of the psychiatrist is to perform sort of on-the-spot fitness assessments. So how that usually works is if we have contact generally with the local detention center, and oftentimes they will email me about certain individuals. They will say so and so has not come out of his cell for weeks. We can't communicate with them. We believe there's some fitness issues. So when I receive that email, what I usually do is I go on to our scope system and I try and find out a little bit more about the accused. I find out who is acting for that accused. I notify defense counsel and I say, hey, there's some fitness issues with respect to this person. Would you like to, come into the adult therapeutic court on the next Wednesday for fitness assessment? And once they're in that court, there's a little bit of work before that. Once I receive the email, once I receive the okay that they want to come into that court for the fitness assessment, I will communicate with the doctor. I will send the doctor the charge summaries, the criminal records beforehand. And then on the day of the court, the person will generally come in person, and the doctor will go down to cells and meet with them to conduct a fitness assessment. And so once the doctor has completed the fitness assessment, she will come up and communicate with the Crown and the defense counsel and say, look, I believe he's unfit. At which point I can notify, because there's a notification requirement under, I think, 672.6, written notice for a treatment order. So I serve that on the lawyer, and then we'll just do a fitness assessment sort of on the day of. And the beauty about having a doctor there from the Southwest is they are able to tell us fairly quickly bed availability, and I think that seems to be a big issue, having bed space available for treatment orders. And so there's a real efficiency in having a doctor right on the spot, able to do an assessment and to do a hearing right away. It speeds up the process considerably versus having to issue an order through a judge and then having a period of time for the actual assessment order to be completed, and then bringing that person back into court to give an opinion, and then subsequently like a hearing, maybe a treatment order. So we're able to sort of fast track that, and that's been incredibly successful. It's been an efficient way of doing things, and I think I'm not sure, I haven't heard a lot of the previous presentations, but I think that feature is pretty unique to the London ATC, and I would encourage you, if there's other therapeutic courts that can sort of work that angle out, it works incredibly well. All of our doctors, the team of doctors, there's five doctors. They're all very, very well versed in conducting fitness assessments and fitness hearings. And so we're also incredibly lucky to have a great team of doctors that come in and help the process. They are also able to answer any other types of sort of on the fly questions that come up. So there's an advantage that way. So I've kind of rambled on for quite a long time. So I'll stop here in case there's any questions.
So first of all, I'll thank you for sharing the inner workings of the London Adult Therapeutic Court. It's really, really interesting. It adds to all the other presentations today. As a person out on the streets doing peer support, I worry about those assessments and the forms that the specialists and that you guys do, but I believe what my nurses that I'm working with tell me, and then I cooperate, and we we've tried to get some of the best people around here hooked up and almost hooked up for an assessment by a doctor from Southwest, and then it fell through, and then we lost the person, you know, and so I have great losses because maybe those assessments weren't done that you're talking about being done. So keep up the work that you know is right, even if people out there on the streets like myself we don't know, you know, but we got to trust the professionals. And so that's what we're doing. And thank you, Mr. Yee.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Is there any questions that you want to answer?
Do you see any questions, Keisha?
I do not have any questions here in the chat, Mr. Yee, at this time.
Okay, great.
I'm going to thank you very much for coming, Mr. Yee. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to present at this conference, and I'm really proud of the London ATC. I think it's a success story in this community.
Oh, Mr. Yee, just before you take off,
yeah,
a question just popped in. If there is a concurrent disorder of substance abuse, does the court require urine screens?
No, we don't usually require those. I think in the past there was a drug treatment court in this community. I don't think it doesn't exist anymore, but I think in that particular court they required urine screen, but we don't.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay, well, I'm going to introduce our next
Okay, thank you.
panelists. Thank you very much, Mr. Yee, for coming today.